heard reports from Occupy Seattle, Occupy San Francisco, Occupy Minneapolis, Occupy Windsor, Canada, Occupy Detroit, Occupy... Actually, I mean, from planned interviews to people spontaneously calling in. But it all began in Wall Street with this call from Adbusters saying, let's occupy Wall Street, and then it just took on a life of its own. And it's very, very interesting how the New York Police Department, which has taken a multi-million-dollar gift from one of the big banks, Jamie Rubin's, I believe, Citibank, and who is arguably working under the supervision of a billionaire mayor, certainly part of the 1%, and whose live-in girlfriend, the mayor, is on the board of the company or is affiliated in some way with the company that owns and runs the park that's being occupied, Zuccotti Park. It's just really interesting to see how all this is playing out. And for the latest on it, Donna Lieberman is with us. She's the executive director of the New York Civil Liberties Union, the NYCLU, the Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU of New York State. The website is nyclu.org. Donna, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
So, Mayor Bloomberg, Commissioner Kelly, the police in general, what's going on there?
I think that the review on the police is a definite mixed bag. They've done some pretty outrageous things with, the mass arrests on the Brooklyn Bridge, the pepper spray. But I think the good news, the goodest news that we're seeing is that they made a decision to not interfere, and they probably had no choice in that, with the right of the Occupy Wall Street to stay in Zuccotti Park, 24/7. That's huge. We're still fighting for the protesters to be able to have tents to protect them from the elements, and to set up porta potties so that people, don't end up answering nature's call on the streets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, those are only reasonable things. I'm curious. Are you an attorney?
I am.
Okay, I'm curious. I'm not, and I kind of, the law is a hobby, but I certainly don't represent myself as an expert on it. I've written a couple of books about some very, very narrow pieces of it on which I can probably outdebate any lawyer. But generally speaking, I'm curious. The First Amendment protects the right of the people to peaceably assemble and petition the government for redress of grievances, and arguably that's exactly what is happening in this park. The Supreme Court, over many years and a variety of decisions, has narrowed that right. Famously, I think it was in the 1940s or 50s when one of the justices brought into being the cliche about the right to yell fire in a crowded theater. You could probably correct me on which decision that was. How constitutional is what is being done? I mean, is it true that people could say my permit is the First Amendment of the Constitution?
Well, as with all rights, nothing is absolutely inflexible and not subject to a certain amount of government regulation. And the principle with regard to the First Amendment is that the government is able to engage in reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions, but it can't base any restrictions on the content of what's being said, and it can't be unreasonable, and it has to take a least restrictive approach to First Amendment rights. That's the constitutional principle, and there are, laws that vary from, one city or town to the next about exactly what you need to do. What's important in New York, among other things, is that while you need a permit to protest in the street, you don't need a permit to walk on the sidewalk, to demonstrate on the sidewalk, as long as you keep, a pedestrian aisle open. Mm-hmm. And we have often gotten into disputes with the police about getting permits to march in the street. And Occupy Wall Street says, we're not getting permits. We don't believe in permits for protest. We're protesting, and we'll do it within the law. And so they've been having sidewalk demonstrations, occasionally spilling out into the street, constantly. And in New York, you don't need a permit. What you do need a permit for is sound, and they've been denied a permit for sound up until now. One hopes that as the drumming controversy gets under control, it would be possible for them to get sound. The other thing that's going on, Tom, and if we could talk more about the permit stuff before getting into this, is the surveillance of what's going on.
Yeah, that's the thing that I find most troubling is the police are coming in, if I understand this correctly, police are coming in with video cameras, video and sound cameras, and virtually 24/7, virtually every person, everything that's said being videotaped. Do I have that right?
Well, it seems so. Of course, when it comes to video surveillance by the NYPD, nobody knows exactly what they're doing. We can only surmise because if there were a prize for the most opaque government agency in the country, I think the NYPD would probably run a close second to the CIA. It might even take over first place.
Well, are they? So they're not being intrusive. They're not like walking into the middle with a video camera and just holding it up.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay. No, I'm just reading the news stories, and from reading the news stories, I got the sense that they were actually being intrusive. That there was an intimidating presence of oversight or whatever you call it, snoopiness.
Yeah,
and,
let's not call it oversight.
Yeah,
oversight connotes
that's
good.
the totally wrong word. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Well. What happens?
Surveillance is the word I was looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
What happens? There's a group called TARU, TARU, within the police department, and that's the Techno Squad from the NYPD, and they show up with their video cameras. So, in addition to all the normal video surveillance that goes on that block and in that neighborhood, as a routine matter, TARU shows up. And on their truck, they sit on their truck. They're on the ground whenever there's a demonstration, and they whip out their video cameras. And what we have ourselves witnessed, because we have protesters, we have observers at every major demonstration or threatened confrontation, is that if you train your camera on TARU, well, what do you know? They take pictures of you. And that's not what they're supposed to be doing. Theoretically, what they're allowed to do and what the police department is allowed to videotape is they're allowed to videotape a demonstration, but only for the purposes of crowd control and making decisions about how to police things, not for the purposes most definitely not for the purposes of establishing and maintaining personal dossiers on protesters.
Right. Although there's a long history there. Donna Lieberman, we have 30 seconds left. What's the ACLU doing about this in New York, the New York CLU?
We're giving out our Know Your Rights material. Our legal observers are on the scene constantly, and we're collecting stories by email at protest@nyclu.org. People can go to our website nyclu.org to find out more. But we're on the scene, and we want to know about problems that people have in participating in Occupy Wall Street. This is an important movement, and the right to protest is what we're about.
Great. So those listening to us on WWRL in New York, or watching us on Manhattan Neighborhood Networks or Dish Network, DirecTV. We're actually on a couple of cable systems in New York. However, if you're involved, get over to nyclu.org. Check it out. Thank you, Donna.
Thanks so much, Tom.